Hi guys, it's Clarice, and today I am going to do a tutorial on how to paint some quick cacti. Over the weekend I had posted something in my stories. It was this cactus plant that I did last year, and I got a lot of messages about it, and since I've never done a video on cacti before, I figured I would do it now. And lucky me, my Canson paper came in over the weekend, so I'm super excited. I can get back to painting on some nice large sheets of paper for you guys. So to begin with, I am going to be using my brushes, the number 8 Princeton Neptune, then the silver black velvet in an 8 and a 4 as well. And this is just for applications of the color. For colors, I am the 2/8. I mean, that's what obviously brushes are for applications of color, but the 2/8 are just so that if I want to interchange and not take, like, wash off the color from one brush, then I have the other. I'm using a dark green, a light green. Unfortunately, guys, I'm really sorry, but because I have been using these colors for a while, I don't have the names of these, so I cannot give you names besides my dark green and my light green, my favorite green and my not so favorite green. So I'm sorry for that. Outside of the two greens, I also have a brown, and then I'm using like a burnt orangey brown as well. And I might not end up using it per se, but actually no, I will. I'll use these for the pots, the clay pots. And then I am also going to have a pink or a pinkish, reddish, or even coral, whatever color you want to, for the flower that sits on top of some of the cacti. All right, so I'm just going to keep these ready on the side and we'll get started. All right, great. So let's begin. I am going to start off with the Princeton 8. I think this is fast becoming one of my favorite regular go-to brushes. And I just realized I don't have a paper towel to wipe stuff off. But you know what? Let's just go with it. So I'm going to start off with the Princeton 8. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a light wash of the green onto my paper into the shape of the cactus. I was going to say cacti, cactus. And so to start off, I'm just going to do something like this. So we'll start off with the ones that are like round in shape. And I'm just going to be creating these shapes and then just extending from them. And by extending, I mean taking a little bit of a different green here because I had it on my palette. I figured I'd be adventurous and try to see what happened if I added a different green. And this is what happens, guys. You don't have to follow suit, but I'm just a little bit adventurous, in an adventurous mood today. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and do another one here and make this one slightly smaller. And then I can do a tiny one on here. And I like to do things in odd numbers, so I'll do one more, but now the question is, where should I place it? Let me just place it on here, like it's coming off from the side. And they're joined, sort of. Okay, so that's my laying on of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the other brush that I have, and I am going to get my darker green. And I'm just going to lay that on over this. And so what I want to do is I want to make the shadow on to my right. So the right side is where I'm going to have more of my dark green. Placement of my dark green, I mean. So I'll just be painting on those areas, and then whatever doesn't spread on well, I'm just going to go in and swish it around. And the cactus patterns are like super pretty because they're like a loose and very popular in I guess in the last couple of years at least. So it doesn't have to be super realistic looking, because you can even like go in and just add a little bit of detail very loosely, or take away some detail if you don't want it to be as detailed, and you'll still have a pretty little painting to kind of show for it at the end. I'm just adding extra water on the edges here to have it blend, and see how this color kind of pulls in. I want to do, yes, I want that in my painting. I'm just going to add touches of the dark color on the side here, just where they meet, just to give it that slightly more detailed look. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just adding it in. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and do the brown for the, whatchamacallit, the clay pot. So I'm just taking some brown on my number 4, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. So just make a oval shape. And you know what, this is like a little bright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip in and get some of the darker brown and just add that in here. Well, this darker brown looks to be more like a greeny brown. It's probably because I've mixed green in it as well, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to, you can make the shape of the pot any like any which way you want. I've seen the curved ones, I've seen the oval ones, like the round ones that you kind of see, but I'm not going to do the round one. I'm just going to do a basic pot, because I'm basic like that. And again, this is loose and fun, and don't stress over it, just kind of go with the flow. All right, so this is good. I like this. I like the blending of the brown with the green. It kind of gives it that two-tone look to it. I think for future I'd probably take like a darker brown, but that's just my preference. Now I think this has dried up somewhat, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take our red, and I've washed off the brown from my brush, and so now I'm just going to go in and get some red, and I'll just mix it on my palette area just to make sure that it's not too overpowering, so that it shows up as a pink. And we're going to just lay down strokes to make this look like a flower. So I put down some water, and it was too light, so I just dipped my tip on my little color cake here, and I went back in, and now I'm just going to add what look like petals, or should look like petals. And again, because it's loose, you don't have to have too much detail, guys, so just let it go at some point. And I had it touch the edge here, so it kind of seeped in. and mixed in with the green, and I kind of like that. So I'm just going to leave it. I'll just add another one here. And just the center, add a little bit extra. And do I want to add one anywhere else? I think you could leave it at 2, but again, I have my thing for odd numbers, so I think I'll do a tiny one just here. And I'm just going to embellish this one nicely so it looks cute. And there we go. What you can also do is, if you want, you can just dip the tip again in some orange and then just add it in. And then that just gives it like a two-dimensional corally kind of flower look. And I like that, so that's my preference. I like to do it. You don't have to follow suit, but I just like that it has, you look at it, it's not a straight pink. It's got hints of what could be yellow, but it's actually an orange and it looks like coral together. So that's me. So this is one. If you want, you can kind of go in and do a little bit of darker, shadowy, greeny, brown color on the inside to kind of show mud. But it's not required if you don't want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do something like that because I know it's still damp. And it will just want the white gaps here and there. So I'm leaving that in as is. And that's how I would do this bit. Okay. So this is the one. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more before we go in and add our little pricklies. But the next thing I want to do is I'll do the next cactus, which is going to be the longer looking one. And so that looks like this. So we're just going to go in and do shapes again. And for this one, we're going to mix some other colors to get another green. So again, I'm just mixing the greens that I have to get a brighter or just a green that's different from this. So swish around with what you have and see what you come up with, because that's always like a nice experiment, especially when it's something that is fairly easy to do and you don't have to be super, what's the word? Like you have to follow everything as per the recipe, so to speak. So these are the ones that look like they have hands. So I'm just gonna do 1, 2, and then I'll do a third one off to the side here. There we go. And I kind of like how the strokes have turned up here, but just to kind of, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go in with a darker, I just dipped my the tip of the brush into the darker color, and I'm just going to go over and do a stroke and another stroke, because this is the linear pattern. Cactus. So I've just done like a couple of strokes, and so it's given that impression of like it has that pattern going on in around it. And now I'll do the pot again. So going back to my number 4, I'm going to get some of the color, and I am just going to do the same oval shape first. Then dipping this back into the water, I'm just going to do that. Then I've just wiped off all the water because there's enough paint on here as it is. And I'm just going to close this up with just water. So you see how it's given it that really soft look, and it's pushed the color up because it's just water that I've applied at the end in a line to kind of seal that up. And then for the inside, I'm just going to take what I have at the tip of this and just apply it sporadically. I need a little more brown. And it's kind of pulling into the cactus, as you can see. And that's okay because it could be a reflection or just like the color of the mud. And again, I'm leaving a little bit of white, not sealing it all with color. Okay, so now I've done that, I've done this. I think this is dried. So I am going to use the number 4 and get my dark green. And then I'm going to go in here and just add my little prickly thorns. You need a fairly steady hand for this. And you just add them sporadically all over the place. They're kind of fun to do because they're repetitive. And just don't forget the edges because you can see them at the edges as well. So I'm just doing like 3 lines together and calling it a day. Like that. I don't want to put my hand on there, but this is getting kind of challenging to not shake. I'm going to try and spread them out as best as I can so I don't overdo it. Almost. I think that's good enough. If you guys feel like you need to add more, you can absolutely go ahead and add more, but I think this is good enough for me. And there we go. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some in here. And again, I'm using the same green, and I'm just going to be adding them you need to make sure that the tip of your brush is pretty straight edged so you don't have it spreading all over the place. And as tiny as possible. It's kind of laying on a little bit thick for me, but it's okay. I kind of like it. Just going to keep on adding this, and I'm just going to make this a time lapse while I'm doing this. All right, so let's do that. All right, so this is dried. The camera stopped there for a moment, so I had to restart. This is dried, and so we can go over this one more time. So what I want to do is I want to add a little more green on top of this to give it a little more depth. So I'm going to go in and get my dark green, and I'm just going to add strokes like this and give it a little bit of depth. And I've actually also seen some cactus with like hints of red and pink, and that might be super pretty to do as well. So if you ever want to try that, or if you want to try it right now, feel free. Now I'm just making this bigger. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. But now I feel like it looks a little bit... Let me just add a little more here. Okay, so now I'm good with this. So I'm just going to leave that, and the flower bit has definitely dried, so I'm going to go with my 4, and I will get some of the pinky red that I have, and I'm going to really give it some detail, like some strokes and detail here. So it's just like how I did my roses in my rose tutorials. I'm just adding some floral detail to it. All right, that's what I'm doing there. If you want to add more floral detail to these ones right here, you totally can. I'm just going to add a touch. Just to the right. Okay, so that's that. And now once these have dried, you can go in and just add a little bit of darker green pricklies to it. And so I'm just getting some green, and I think these are dry. This is dry. I'm going to take a chance anyways. So I'll do the edges first to be safe, and I'm going very lightly on here. And some of it is blending in with the green, and I kind of really like that effect, so I'm pleased. And now I'll just go down the center. It's not completely dried up, so you can see some of them are just kind of blending in with the dampness. But I don't mind it because, again, it's a loose watercolor, and it's fine if all of them don't show perfectly. I do like the blend, so just add some dark at the edge, and there we go. Now, most of this has dried up, and what you could do is just to enhance it some more if you want to. You can add some details to the little pots or not. It's totally up to you. I don't know if I really want to add anything, but maybe just some highlights here and there. And again, completely optional. So I'm just going to use a dark brown that I have out here and go in to add some detail. And you could make it like just linear or polka dots or whatever, really. So feel free to add that or not. And because this is an optional thing, I'm just going to take this off the video and just make it a time lapse instead. And you guys can see what my final outcome is shortly. Alright guys, so these are the cacti I came up with. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to write comments or give me, not pointers, but if you have any questions, shoot them my way please in the comment section below. I'm always happy to read from you guys and hear what you think, whether you like it, you don't like it. So if YouTube is not a place you can interact in, well, I am also on Instagram and Facebook, so please follow me there as well, guys. Thanks so much for your time, and we will chat soon. Bye.